Hello, everybody. This will be the rundown on my character that I'm playing right now. I think I'm gonna go do a TR again to another iconic. This isn't really a DC caster at all. It's just more like a DPS caster. I've done quite a few versions of this build before. You can really just do base damage a lot. It's a mix of a wizard 12, warlock 8, mostly cold and force, and a little bit of negative damage. And I think my starting stats were max intel on a deep gnome. And I don't even know if that was at 20. Max constitution is at 18 con. Dex was a dump. I think it looks like it's at 8. Strength is a dump, 6. Wisdom, 10. And charisma was only 10. I was going to try and primarily stick with the wizard side of things, which is why I took the intel over the charisma. You know, warlock's a little bit more, it is charisma based. Okay, so 12, 8 gnome, chaotic good, DPS caster. I've done past videos, but they probably weren't very clear on this build at all. It seems like this new video thing that I have is a little bit clearer. It doesn't make such horrible blurry videos. So if I open up the enhancements tree, I have 39 spent in the Archmage Wizard tree, 26 in Pale Master, and the Archmage tree is my 5th tier. And I took the force orientated strikes over here, Arcane Bolt and Arcane Blast. So it's force, not negative, like how in the Pale Master tree you get the necrotic blast up here, and that's a different type of damage. Then, Feydark Illusionist, only 2 points in this. Just random spending, I guess. You gotta spend 1 point in one of these trees. So I took the Pseudo Dragon, it will give you 5 more force and 5 universal spell power. Had to spend 15 points in the Deep Gnome because of racial TRs. And they do get a nice Phantasmal Killer spell up here. But I didn't even go into Illusion DCs for insta-kills on this character. I think that's going to probably be my next gnome life, is going to be that one. Because there's an awesome relationship between the Deep Gnome, racial tree, and the Feydark Illusionist. I guess I'll save that information for the next video. And even being a wizard, you'll have another Phantasmal Killer spell to wield out. That, I think that build is going to be way more insta kills, undead. So the other 14 points are spent over here in the Tainted Scholar tree trying to get that some more damage out of that Eldritch Blasting with your hands type thing. You know, it's not like you're really casting a spell. I did take Chain in here. And again, I really like the Tainted Scholar tree because at the bottom you're gaining spell critical damage in the warlock uh, class, and you're gaining spell penetration. So that's the rundown on this, and you know, you still, anytime you multi-class like that, you probably don't get everything you want. There's another point of intelligence hanging out here that you can get, and more stuff over here in the bottom tier of the deep gnome tree. So probably not a build for everybody. It generates a lot of aggro on the downside over time, um, just because you're casting so much, and usually just, you know, basically if you're not casting, you're blasting with your hands, you know, the Eldritch Blast. But I like to play these type of builds because, you know, mostly not everybody does them, and they're probably, you know, not the most they're not the toughest at for extreme difficulty levels, but I still have fun playing them. Spell powers are coming in, you know, relatively low since the new changes have come out. Cold's only 744. I can boost a little bit. Force coming in at 655. Negative coming in at 679. The spell critical chances are cold 46. I mean, my primaries, I guess, is what I'll go over. Force 26 and negative 20. The spell critical multipliers, though, are what I'm pretty happy with. Cold is coming in at a base 91, Force 76, and negative 66, as well as all of the rest. Whatever spell types I don't really use that much. Now, in previous videos, I did go over this Wellspring of Power. It's going to boost you up another 20% on your spell critical damage for the duration, which is only 30 seconds. The Reveler's Regalia is going to give you another 25% festive bonus to spell critical damage. That lasts for a minute and a half. So, and one more thing is tainted spellcasting. You use Depravity to gain 25 universal spell power. That lasts for 20 seconds. So it's a good idea to keep blasting with your Eldritch Blasts to build Depravity before you trigger all those things and go, you know, over the top on your spell powers and spell critical multipliers. Kind of a cycle. The other thing is, in Enhancements tree, you know, like I said, I did go over this before in previous videos a bit. Up here at the top in the fifth tier of the Archmage, you gain Arcane Supremacy on occasion. There's a 10% chance to trigger Arcane Supremacy, and you got to kind of be aware of when it comes on. It gains you another 25% spell critical chance and plus 100% spell critical damage. So for a very short duration, 12 seconds, you're probably in a perfect world around 220% spell critical damage when that goes off. Okay, so I'm sort of waiting. It doesn't always happen when you want it to, but the whole purpose of blasting away in Eldritch blasting instead of casting actual spells is to raise the frequency of that procking. I use chain almost all the time, except for some hardcore raids where, like VOD, where the big orthons come up. I don't want all their aggro in there. You know, all of the other chain effects that go off when I'm using that usually don't work on the orthons anyway. I haven't seen them getting froze, and I haven't seen my intercept just outright finger of death them. So the whole purpose basically of using the chain effect for the warlock is to just raise the frequency of other effects that you have equipped going off. So I still have fun playing this, but like I said, it's not exactly the best for in terms of super high damage output all the time, and it's probably not the best for super high Reaper because you're not really tough enough to, if once you do get aggro, if you don't kill it or freeze it or whatever else, you're not really tough enough to withstand a lot of hardcore attacks. Hit points are coming in at 1735. Spell points coming in at a base 4107. And I just have generic ship buffs on for, what, 15 minutes yet. Somebody was kind enough to give me an invite to their ship. So, under feats on this rundown, the epic feats are epic spell power cold, epic spell power force. Legendary feats are Scion of the Plane of Water. It gives you a little bonus to your cold spell power and other things. I like the extra DC bonus to evocation. I mean, most of my spells are evocation on this. And if, some spells have a save for half damage, so you still want to try to get your evocation spell up, at least so that you're at, premium damage boost. I did take Burst of Glacial Wrath. This is it's like having another big cold strike. I like it. Not in epic defensive fighting, that gets granted. Intensify spell, Master of Knowledge, and Wellspring of Power. Other feats taken along the way, improved mental toughness. What else? Mental toughness. Meta magics they're all there. Quicken, maximize, heighten, extend, enlarge, empower spell. And if I right click on those big dogs over there, Cone of Cold, they're all on. Of course, I mean, there's only certain spells that I don't bother using Quicken on, and they're usually buffs. The only thing for that is Extend on Greater Heroism. Both Death Auras, Extended, Heightened, and Quickened. Your Negative Energy Burst, Empowered, Heightened, Intensified, Maximized, and Quickened. Still gets nerfed on Reaper anyway. Sucks. Spells are mostly for cold and self buffs on this. Even took the Freezing Bolt, the Nyax, Cold Ray, and Snowball Storm, showing my evocation save if I hover over Snowball Storm at 79. Not really a DC caster. Probably on harder difficulties they're going to make that save for half damage. But I still have Frost Lance is higher at 80. I think it's because of one of the feats raises the caster level on some of the spells that you have. If I can go back to that feats page. Master of something raise it? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna hunt that down. Another thing that I found that I did take was Arcane Pulse as a Destiny feat. This does forced damage, like a dot. And it's extremely quick to cast. Doesn't require a save. So a lot of times during the course of play, I'll use that Arcane Pulse and Nyax Biting Cold. Because there's really no save on it, and it just keeps ticking. I don't know where that came from. Is it Intensify Spell? I thought there was something, maybe Epic Spell Power Cold. %, universal spell crit damage off of that universal spell power. Wow. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't track that down right now. I don't know why that's coming in a little bit higher. Frost Lance's Fortitude saves coming in at 86. Ice Storm, it's fun, but it also does bludgeon damage, which is force based. Right? The Sleet Storm down here is a conjuration spell, but it's slowing the enemies down if you do use it. So your buddies probably need freedom of movement if they're running around in there. It's hard, you know, it's like making a blizzard in an area of the map. So you should try to be kind to the rest of your people you're playing with, I think, most of the time. I also took the Past Life Wizard, Clicky, Arcane Initiate. You get another 10 force. What do they call it? Magic missiles. In between rests. You know. So I sort of spec'd all of my force dealing things over here in hotbar number 1. And a couple of them also come from evocation focus in the Archmage tree. So you get another magic missile there. You get a chain missile out of there. So you can cast those pretty cheap too. I mean, they're SLAs, most of them. Which is just like, if you do run out of spell points, you still got something to fall back on. Look at enhancements again quick just to show you. Those are on the bottom of the on the bottom of the Archmage tree. You also get, if you are evocation, you get a gust of wind out of there. So there's no real point in you know, wasting a spell slot to get gust of wind in there. Don't double load that. You only need one, I think. That's down here on the bottom right in case, you know, I gotta use it. sometimes, you know, there's cloud kill and other effects that get cast by mobs, so I do use it once in a while. In this middle bar down here at the bottom, I've sort of set up things that debuff. My hypnotism is there. It's got a low save on it. It's only at 51. That's a lower will saves. My crushing despair is there. It has another lower save amount at 51 will. That sleet storm's there. Ray of exhaustion. It's kind of like the spell bank that does bad things or has the potential to debuff enemies. You know, I like to keep those spells separate. On my right hand side, working down from top to bottom, is mostly the spells that I use all the time. That Burst of Glacial Wrath is there. The Dragon Breath Cold is there. Then a whole Cold Bank. Cone of Cold and Burst of Glacial Wrath, they look about the same when you do the animation. And I think that's going to be about it for this rundown on the Epic Destinies. I'm all in on Draconic. And splashed in some things from the Eclipse over here and something from Shirati Champion. Which I'm not sure why I did that. Extra spell points for Wild Magic. 5 Force and Universal Spell Power. The phase site, like, I don't even need to spend this point here. I could probably put it over here to somewhere else if I want to. Echoes of Power is always nice. I mean, there's only one raid where I really run low on spell points, and that's the Lord of Blades. So it's clicky time. Usually at the end, unless we have a bard with us. Spell Singer. DCs of fear spells? I don't even have that many except for this stuff over here, Cause Fear. You know, like, I don't even think I need to spend the points there. I could find a better way to do it, but oh well. In terms of gear, something that I did go over before a little bit was, it's a pleasant surprise. If you look at this setup, I still am wearing the Ender set. My main intelligence item is the two-headed platinum piece, but I'm not even wearing the Saltmarsh Explorer set with it. I just feel like it's, again, 5 pieces, makes you tougher, gives you more healing amp, but not worth it for what I want to do. Other people can make those choices on their own, you know. In terms of just casting spells and using the chain effect, the chain counts as casting 3 spells. So in conjunction with that Ender set and sort of Finger of Death, Sovereign Vorpal effect, it has a chance to proc on the other, all 3 chain hits. Same with the Bitter Star. It has Royalty's Frigid Response effect. It's trying to freeze your enemies, or has a chance to freeze them into a block of ice. Okay, same thing. It's chaining on, or it's hitting on the second and third chain. trying to up the frequency of the amount of spells that you cast so the secondary effects go off on their own. Again, on the Sphere of Waves, I use this as my primary cold item. It has the Paragon Cerulean Wave effect, which is trying to freeze your enemies into a block of ice. Has a chance. So there's 3 effects there that, like I said, I just like to use the chain effect on to try and increase that probability. And what else did I do in terms of gear here? I'm still wearing a Resonation, which harmful spellcasts are doing 4 to 24 sonic damage on top of. I'm wearing 2 rings from the House Caneth raids. One is the Bound Elemental Ring of Acid, and the other is the Bound Elemental Ring of Frost. Now, the Bound Elemental Ring of Frost has a chance to inflict 10 stacks of cold damage over time, and then the stacks fade. Okay, there's a chance. It doesn't always happen. But the thing is that it's cold, and against iron golems and stuff, you're not going to heal them with a magma strike that procs. So I'm sort of anti-fire. And then on the Bound Elemental Ring of Acid, the effect is different. It's Alchemical Earth Attunement says attacks and offensive spells deal stacking acid damage over time. So that's always going to start up the stack process. There's no chance for it to proc. So that's my reasoning behind wearing that. It's very nice. As well as, I mean, the Chained Elemental set gives you some bonuses to your elemental crit chance and to elemental spell power in general. Fire, cold, acid, and electric 30. The last set that I am wearing is the Esoteric Initiate. Just to get artifact bonus to intelligence. And that's it. I think. I'm not really going to go over exactly what's in all of them. My highest constitution item is a plus 12 gem. And I did slot in Insightful Con plus 5 gem. So 17. A little bit of a reason for a little bit of low hit points. Ender set is giving me a bonus if I take off a piece up here. A legendary bonus to hit points in opposition. Let's open up the plus sign. What does it say? It's not going to say any of that. Elemental resistances are good. Electric, fire, and acid. Cold's coming in at 98. It's enough to kite the shadows if you want to on Legendary Hard. Yeah, it's not going to really say. I mean, Ender set's giving you that extreme unconscious range at 239. Percentage bonus max hit point doesn't even read on there. If I take it off, you see that it dropped. So whatever. All the rest of these bonuses don't even matter. Go to spellcasting up here. No. Spellcasting. Spell crit multiplier minus 30. Spell penetration bonus 28. Evil bonus 33. Conjuration is probably my second best at 30. And that's all that's gonna say. Oh well. If I take off the ender set, you know, I would have to reverse figure this for what my hit point drops to. Does that say 1690? Legendary bonus? To what, 1735? It's tough to figure that out. I don't know. So, I guess I'll just finish this video out with a small combat sample if I find something that I want to kill. And we'll probably be able to see that acid damage coming up. So I do have a rare up here, and there's my first cast. They're not active yet. And you can see a little bit of acid damage started on that guy, but he didn't have enough. And I'll stop here and just use Nyack's Biting Cold on this guy. You can see it's already ticking up to 3,000 damage on that ring. I'm not casting anything right now. This is probably going to be enough to kill him on that one blast. So it starts out small, but it ends up getting bigger over time. And I'll look at my combat log there to show you. I don't even have any acid spells going. Wish my death aura wasn't on. Right around there it was at 540. The first cast on that sucker was 164 points of acid damage, so it's building up as time goes by, and ended probably because he died. I had to find it. Right there at 3,086 points of acid damage as it ticks down. These two damage over time spells are like, I can just put them on and leave. Arcane Pulse. I'll try to do that on this, whatever comes up next. I want to mess around with these.
Fisherfolk and sailors come
Trying to make the video short. Here's another rare. So I guess that's the first thing I'll start out with. Without any other clickies is Arcane Pulse. And there's a 744. And at the end, the Arcane Pulse ticked for 4,961. So, just to give you an idea of what we're doing, on the last fight, the Ender set procced on the second chain and gave that one of those mobs the Finger of Death. So I'll see if I can get that to also show up if I activate a bunch of mobs here and just blast with my chain. You'll probably see the freeze too come up. And the other thing is, even even off of that, there's the freeze. That's only off of my death aura. I have both auras on right now and I didn't cast anything. It froze those rats. Froze another one. Now I'll blast them. See what happens. Try again on these guys. And nothing proc there. Death Aura freezes them, because I guess the Death Aura counts as an offensive spell or attack.
For a moment,
And there
you're taken
is
aback
no
by the sprawling
audiog,
pit and the
but
foul
there's
smell.
crab cakes.
What vile thing have you discovered? Did you realize?
You can see the acid coming up, the acid damage. Starting at 113, was at a 500 on that Raven. And I think I'll just end the video after this rare. I don't want to get too long. It's fun though. You know, a bunch of stuff that I can't really control happens. Another rare for me. I'll wait. A bunch of birds usually spawn here. Just chain them. And this guy, I think, has some cold immunity. So we're just letting it tick the Arcane Pulse on him. Okay, everybody, thanks for the fun. Going back to a new gnome insta-killer. Thank you. Have a nice afternoon.